How do you how could you prove that you read most pieces of fiction?
Well, you said anecdotal evidence, okay, so that's good evidence right
Hey,
there.
bro, you didn't question the reliability of my anecdotes. I'm questioning yours.
I can question the reliability of your anecdotes. I know for
Well,
a fact that it's almost inhumanly possible to fucking read most pieces of fiction, so of course I can question the reliability of a statement like that.
that's not true if I didn't claim that I read most of fiction.
Okay, so do you accept that you haven't read most of fiction then?
I can accept that, but the induction still works.
Okay, so no, induction doesn't work. You have to make a deduction in order to form this.
That's not true. Induction is a type of inference. Like that's completely fine.
Okay, so explain to me how you would inductively prove that this is the case, then.
Yeah, how you'd say that I've observed a consistency of this being the case in other works of fiction, so I'm justified in drawing the conclusion
Okay, so
that
but
it's
you're
likely to be the
justifying it
case
from
in this
a
instance.
small data pool. Then it's way
But
too small of a data pool.
that's arbitrary.
No, it's not arbitrary.
Yeah, because you're
If
presupposing
you
your
don't
own
have a majority of the evidence, there's a majority of unknown evidence out there that may not support your position. So you're like doing an experiment and not including all the data.
expecting me to, include all the data isn't very pragmatic, right? You already said it's not humanly possible for me to look at all
Pragmatic.
the
What do you mean by pragmatic?
reasonable.
You think it's not very reasonable that I
Yeah,
what?
yeah, it's not very reasonable that you try to hold me to standard of, collecting all or most of the data, considering you said it's basically and physically
Well, you
impossible
said,
for me to
well,
do
you're
that.
basically arguing from a position you would need to know most of the data. So it is reasonable.
That's not
You are
true.
arguing from that
For
position.
induction, you can take a minuscule consistency and infer a greater conclusion. That's what an induction is.
Okay, and you would be making that decision based on incomplete data.
That's not a defeater, though. Like most
Okay, so if I walk
induction.
outside right now, okay, let me put your position in a vacuum. So let's say like I walk outside and I see a black person commit a crime. Okay? Now
Okay.
let's say I drive through Detroit and I see another black person commit a crime. Let's
I
say I
already
see
know where you're
that three
going
more
with this,
times.
but
Okay, so let's say I see 5 black people commit crimes. Is it okay for me to inductively reason that most black people commit crimes?
if you're trying, this could be funny as hell. But to be honest, I mean, do you reject induction? Let's get to clarification before I.
Yes, I reject induction
You
because I think
reject
that's
induction?
yes, because you're not including a full data pool.
Hold on. Right. So when you say
It's
a
like
full
it's like
data
you're
pool,
literally it's like a Texas sharpshooter fallacy.
wait.
Literally.
So you understand that you can't be certain that you have all the data, right?
Can't be certain. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, you can't have like 100% like knowledge that you have all the data. Like there could be a piece of
Of the available
information.
information on Earth that is publicly known, I think that is fair to say most pieces of fiction. That's in the
Okay.
context I'm using most pieces of fiction. The ones
Okay,
that
okay.
are
So you
publicly
have
able to be consumed at libraries or online.
wait, but the question is if you have access to that quote unquote complete data set.
We do. We have the internet.
No, do you like as in have you consumed it? If you don't, and if you
Have I
can't
consumed what?
all the data there is to have
No, I haven't
pertaining.
consumed it all.
Okay, you already
I'm
said
not the one making a claim on it though.
hold
You
on, but
are.
you already stated it's physically impossible for you to consume most mangas, right? So
I do
you
think
already
I didn't say it was physically impossible. I just think it's unlikely to be like something that people would do. So I can
you,
question the reliability of
no,
it
no,
because it's unlikely that
you
you've read
said
most pieces of
humanly
fiction.
you said you didn't think it was humanly possible. That's what you
I don't
said.
think I used that exact verbiage, but here, I'll clarify now. I'm talking about likelihood.
Well, then now you're just hedging, right? But it's whatever.
No, I don't think I used that exact wording at all.
It doesn't have to be like exact wording. It can just be around the general
It
idea
does
of what you
because that
said.
can change the meaning of it if like one word can change the whole meaning of the sentence.
That it could, but that's just appealing to the possibility, right? You'd have to show why
I'm
the
not saying it's
specific.
probably the case that it's I'm not saying because it's possible the case it is the case. That's an appeal to possibility. What I'm saying is that it's probably the case or probably not the
No,
case.
I'm saying you're appeal. Okay, wait, that is
Appeal
an
to
appeal to pos.
possibility is where you're saying something is true because it's possible. I'm
Wait,
not saying that.
but you just said it's true that I did
I said
misrepresent
it
you. You said based off the
I'm not
possibility.
saying hold on. I'm not saying that it's hold on real quick before let's recap real quick. What is the
Okay.
exact claim?
Well, the exact claim is that I'm saying induction is reliable.
No, I'm not talking about that specifically. What we were just specifically talking about a moment ago.
If
I was rolling my
consuming
weed.
majority of mangas is humanly possible.
No, a little bit after that.
Yeah,
What's
I don't
up? What's up?
I don't know.
What were you gonna say, dude?
What happened? I said I don't know. Like I don't remember. Like
I
that's
heard someone else mic unmute.
No, I said what's up, what's up, what's up. I was back.
What's up,
I got
KD?
another call. My bad, dude. Like,
Oh, that's no problem, bro. I'm trying to remember what we were just talking about. Fuck.
Look, you were trying to say that induction was reliable. That's ridiculous, right? You'd be holding yourself to an absurd
No, I
standard.
mean you didn't even answer my analogy earlier. Is it okay for me to inductively reason if like I see 5 black people commit crimes that most black people commit crimes?
Well,
That's inductive
what do you
reasoning.
mean? What do you mean? Okay, like, are you talking about like, is it
Do you
okay?
think it's
as in-
valid? Do you think it's logically valid?
what do you mean? What does logically valid mean? Like, what you're saying? Like, what do you mean?
Like, do you think that it is deductively valid or inductively valid?
If you make an induction, is it inductively valid? Yes.
So you're considering that a valid induction, yes?
Yes.
So okay, so you're racist.
That's for one. I'm black. For one, I'm black, and for two,
you racist to your own
look,
country.
look, I can grant. I know you think that was a.
I saw 5
look,
black people
hold
commit
on.
crimes, therefore black people are racist.
I know you think that was. I know you think that was.
Oh my god,
Noodles. I know you think that was a slam dunk. I know you think that was a slam dunk.
No, it was.
But it really.
I don't think, dude.
I know you think that was a slam dunk, but it wasn't. All you just asked me was if they made an induction. All you asked me is if they made an induction.
They made a valid induction.
Would it be a valid induction? Do you know what it means to say it's a valid induction?
What's that mean?
It just means to say that a particular inference fits the criteria of an induction. I don't have to
So
grant
you think
it.
that
Noodles, I think you're a little bit lost. So
I think you are.
What
I think
the
you got proved
dispute
to be
is?
racist.
What's the
You
dispute
said that
is?
racism is a valid induction, bro.
That's not what I said. Right? You're just
Yeah,
trying to.
You said if I saw 5, did you not admit that it was valid? That it's if you saw 5 black people commit crimes, that most black people commit crimes.
I don't agree. I don't agree with the conclusion of the induction.
So you don't agree with induction, then?
That's not true. Just because I don't agree with it in a particular case, that's not to say that I don't generally agree with the induction.
This case is identical to your case, though.
That's not true because there are different components that I'm using for the induction.
Okay, so what's the difference between them then?
Yeah,
between each induction.
You can't identify that the variables we're talking about in these two inductions are completely different. Like one, we're talking about anime, we're talking about Naruto.
I'm talking about available information.
There aren't moral issues at play in my scenario, so I don't have to consider as much as the one of judging people, prior to.
Why would it be morally inconsiderate to be logical?
Wait, are you saying that's... Wait. So you said the induction that you made regarding black people isn't morally inconsiderate? So who's the racist now?
I think it is, but
okay,
you don't
wait. So I
because
just
you use
granted that
inductive
idea.
reasoning.
So
you think it's logically valid. I don't.
Wait, why are you questioning it if you grant the idea? Here, let's bring it back. So, for one, let's make it simple. I just think your comparison about the instance where somebody inferred, that black people are a certain way, I think it's just disanalogous, not comparable. I can just make the claim that induction is generally reliable, right? And generally just means in most scenarios, right? So it's not going to necessarily capture the instance in which you're proposing where somebody's making some broader conclusion.
So you're saying it could be right, it could be wrong.
Yeah, that's how inductions work. Because
you're talking about things you don't know about. You're talking outside of your data set.
Wait. So now you're bringing the word knowledge in, and that's when we're going to talk about epistemology, right? So my theory of knowledge... Hold on. My theory of knowledge, I don't need certainty.
Okay, so I'm not talking about certainty. I'm just talking about things that you absolutely have no idea.
That's not true. If I have evidence for this thing, I do have an idea of that thing, of the conclusion.
You don't have an idea of the whole data set, though. You don't know what the next data set
I don't need to. Induction
you're
doesn't
basically
require
just jumping
a full data set.
You're literally just jumping to conclusions. That's all an induction is to you.
That's just arbitrary.
Why would we use your style of induction where you have an incomplete data set versus using my style of deduction where we actually have to observe the data set we make claims about? If you're making claims about a majority data set, then you are then required to be able to back that up. And if you can't back that up because you were only observing a minority of the data set, then you were fucking up.
Noodles, you already granted the idea that you don't have access to all of the data.
No, I did not grant that. That was you
So you have
assuming that.
access outside of the data? Okay, give me a valid
No, I didn't say
deduction.
I didn't say I had access outside of the data. I
No,
said
no,
my
no, no,
data
no.
set
That's not what I
was
said. That's not what I
specified.
said. That's not what
My
I
data
said.
set was yes, it is.
Okay, okay. So let's this. Give me a deduction, and I will prove that you don't know all the information.
I never said I did. You were arguing this from the beginning.
Wait. You just pointed out how I had an incomplete
You
data
were the
set.
one making claims on a majority data set. I wasn't.
No, I'm making a claim about a likelihood about this majority.
A
I'm not
likelihood
making.
about the
Do
majority.
you know what induction is? It's literally just saying, so we have these instances of this being the case. I'm going to infer that based off these instances, that it's likely
Yeah.
to have a majority of
But
people to be in
what
this
proves that's
particular
more
way.
likely? What proves that's more likely?
Because you observe the consistency of it, and if something is
It doesn't.
repeatable, if something's repeatable, then it happens more
But it's
oftentimes.
obviously.
Hold on. If something's repeatable, then it happens more times than not, right? Even if it
So
happens
you're
more
using
times than
it.
not,
Hold
then
on.
it's likely to happen.
What proves that it's actually happening more times than not, though? Just because
My
you have a small data
observation.
set.
My
In
observation.
which case
My
do you
observation.
use? Hold on. I'm not done. In which case do you have a minority data set that you've observed, and it's been the case in the majority as well once you discovered the whole data set?
Everyday life.
Like what?
Like for example, there are certain qualities you could pick up from a bad person, and then like if you meet a new person, you can sort of pick up on little like hints based off of their first impression to sort of infer that they might be a good or bad person, right? And for me, that's worked out because I've actually been able to later confirm that this induction was true and also reliable.
Okay, so what if it was just the case that they just happen to be a good person? The speech patterns they used are used by both good and bad people.
That'd be
Like
example of
how do you determine between those two things which is more likely?
Could you repeat that?
So like if you break down what you were arguing and you say, what if these words had nothing to do with whether or not they were a good or bad person, and that they could be used by both good and bad people because there's like other factors in life that can change and alter their being and everything else. Like it could just be the case that they were already affected and changed by that point. So it's like that's still flawed reasoning. You're not saying anything even close to certain. Like at
What?
least when you're truth seeking, you have to try and
By the way,
provide as
Noodles,
much
you're straw manning
as
me.
much
By the way,
empirical evidence as possible. What am I
Noodles,
strong?
you're straw manning me. By the way, you just said I'm not certain, which induction grants the idea that I don't have certainty. It just says likelihood.
Yeah, I understand that, but that doesn't actually prove it's
Yeah,
more
but
likely.
you,
Like
you understand to have certainty, even with a deduction. You understand you understand what a deduction is, right? Because you seem
yeah,
to hang on you
it's
you
just a
seem to
logical
hang on.
inference.
Hold on. No, it's not merely just a logical inference, right?
It is.
It's if the premises are true, then the conclusion necessarily follows, right? But to know that the premises are true, you would have to infer that those things are true, right? So for you to actually have a
Yeah, so it's an
reliable
inference.
hold on, for you to have a reliable certain deduction, you'd have to have an infinite chain of deductions guaranteeing each conclusion used to form those future deductions.
Hold on. So real quick. So is it true or false that black I'm just kidding, bro. I'm not gonna go back there. I'm not gonna go back
Are you
there.
gonna
Bro,
finish that? You gonna
look,
finish that,
you
Noodles?
really tried that
Dude,
slam dunk on me. I'm like, that really
I
was
mean,
crazy. That was crazy.
it's your fault. Like you did say that it's like valid reasoning. So
Bro, how did it go from that to
All I
something
said was
funny?
that it was an induction. Like, I didn't say I agreed
I
with the
know, but
conclusion.
what makes you agree with an induction and disagree with an induction then? What's a valid induction versus an invalid
An
induction?
induction is just going to be valid when it's there's no counter evidence, right? In the instance of the one with the black
No
people,
counter evidence?
yeah, the instance in the one with the black people, right? There's clearly counter evidence to the idea of what you just said, and
Yeah, I
also
understand that
external
there's actual
factors.
evidence that it's not the case, right? But I'm talking about your position in a vacuum.
What do
Like
you
if
mean?
you like say you are like I'm not including like outside evidence in this hypothetical. What I'm
Well,
including in this hypothetical, let's say you like walked outside and you saw 5 black people commit crimes. Would you assume then after seeing that all black like most black people commit crimes? Like
so in a
that's the equivalent of
hypothetical
your argument.
in a hypothetical where you're ignorant as fuck.
Sure, yeah.
Well, a lot of racist people are ignorant. So maybe.
I understand that, but it's just pretty interesting that you could see something like that and not see that as invalid reasoning and jump into a conclusion and then
Bro.
try to justify these other inductions, which are just equally baseless.
Well, you have to understand that depending on the situation, the induction, right, is going to require more evidence, right? But that's going to be arbitrary in and of itself, right? I could
So
propose.
yeah, it's arbitrary.
I
Induction
could
evidence is
propose.
arbitrary.
The qualifications of what it means to be justified is going to be arbitrary either way, right? There is no
Not for
objective metric.
deductions.
Yes, there is.
We can come to objective fact with deduction.
So how do you come to the conclusion that the premises are true?
A equals A. There's a deduction.
That's not that's not a deduction. That's an identity.
Yes, it is. How do you think I deduced that then?
That's not.
If I
that's
didn't
not
make a
an
deduction in order to come
That's
to
not
that
an induction.
conclusion.
A deduction is saying if the premises are true, then the conclusion necessarily follows. A is
Okay,
A is
so
not
what's a
hold on. A is
So-
not propositional.
You want me to show you a truth table for this argument? Is that where you want it?
What?
I'm not actually writing on a truth table, bro. I'm just saying this would be easy
A
to
is
prove
A
in
is
a
not a
premises format.
Wait, would it not just follow A exists, therefore A is A? Because it exists.
That's
Yeah,
not,
like
that's
A,
not,
A
it's not a
itself is
deduction.
existence, right?
That's completely
Like-
circular, right? And it's also disanalogous to what we're
There's
talking
no
about.
way
'cause
you
if
can
we're-
say that A cannot equal A because A is A.
Yeah, A is A, but that's not to say that you came to that conclusion deductively.
Is there any way that it's not the case that A is A?
No, there is
Like,
no
whatever
possibility in which
existence
A is not A, but that doesn't follow that it's now a deduction.
Well,
A
what you're
deduction
arguing is
is
just like a
specific.
contradiction itself.
That's not true. A deduction is if the two premises are true, then the conclusion from those two premises logically follows. So I'll give you an example. All men are mortal.
That's not what I'm reading a deduction as.
All men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Socrates is immortal. If those two premises are true, then it necessarily follows that Socrates is immortal. That is a deduction.
Yeah, I understand. You can easily make a deduction with this.
A is just a tautological state about identity, right?
Yeah, it's a tautology.
Yeah, but it's not a deduction.
You can. How do you think we came to it being a tautology in the first place? We had to deduce it.
You don't have to deduce that A is A. A is trivial because there's no possibility in which
it's so trivial. How many people here understand what that even is?
Something being itself?
Yeah, I'm talking about A equals A in general. Like, people won't understand even like the idea of grasping concepts themselves.
I don't even know.
Like, we're talking about, like, when you say A is A, you're not just saying that A equals A. It's like even the concept of A is A. Like, you have to talk in detail about what it specifically is talking about.
There's not much to talk about because the only fact about the matter
People
is the
don't
fact
think
that
that deep.
A is A.
I understand A is A.
Okay, you make it trying to seem like this is like some complicated thing that we came to conclusion. Like
You're the one doing that. You're the one trying to bring up like
wait, hold on.
tautologies
Prior
and
to
weird
talking,
shit.
like prior to talking to Noodles, I had to figure out he follows the law of identity. Like, no, that's not how it works. Like, we just say
that's not
Noodles.
what I'm arguing though. That was a mischaracterization of what I've been arguing though.
Okay, so what are you arguing? Because it doesn't seem like you're arguing.
I'm just arguing that like if you make a deduction, you're basing it off of evidence that directly follows, right? You have to. In order for a deduction to be sound and valid, you have to base it on evidence that follows.
But that's only if the
logically.
premise you can actually come to an accurate conclusion about the premise.
It's more. Okay, hold on. You can come to an accurate conclusion about the premises if you observe all of the data on the internet, right? And you say, okay, all of the data suggests that this character makes this move consistently, or this character trope exists. Listen to me. Hold on, I'm not done talking. I'm saying if you can judge this data set in whole, which you can, because I said all. Yeah, I know you'll let me go, bitch.
Damn, watch your mouth, little boy.
What are you gonna do, bitch? Anyway,
I'm gonna grab your fat wet ass to the screen.
No, you're not. You're gonna sit there and being quiet while I say this.
Okay, just keep going, bro.
Anyway, yeah, that's what I thought.
All right, you gotta keep adding them bullshit ass remarks. Just keep speaking. Bitch.
What are you gonna do about it? You gonna cry?
I'm gonna fucking kick you in the face like fucking Karate Kid.
You can't kick me in the face. It's over the internet, dumbass.
Hey, who knows, bro? I mean, if you don't even know how to make a deduction,
you're gonna sit by your computer chair.
The conclusion that I can't kick you in the face
with
the fucking screen.
You're gonna dirty, greasy little finger your keyboard up. Talking about tautologies.
Finish speaking.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Finish speaking. Anyways.
Anyway, yeah. So what I'm saying is, a deduction, you can make a deduction if you observe the majority of the evidence in this data pool, and you say that it supports this conclusion, right? Or all of the evidence, and you say the majority supports this conclusion. You can totally make like a syllogism about that. About like how the evidence points to this, therefore this, right? That's logical and sound. So, like if a certain
how would you know
character,
it's the
like
majority
if
of
a certain,
evidence? How do you know? How
if
would
you
you
just
know it's the majority of the evidence?
if you read all of the things in the library on the internet,
No, but how would you know it's all?
because there's a finite amount of websites on the internet.
But how does that show that you have access to all finite websites on the internet?
If you're talking about like every major line series, for instance, things that people have read, that's an easy thing you can look up.
You're employing this arbitrary standard when in actuality the standard that you're presupposing.
What
said
it was arbitrary? What makes it arbitrary?
Yeah, the fact that it's not mind independently true, right? So it's going to be considered subjective, aka mind dependent.
It's not subjective.
Yes, it is. It's subjective. It means dependent on the mind.
No, I'm not depending it on the mind. I'm saying that these are things you can easily look up.
No, I'm talking about the standard, not the things in the standard. I'm talking about
if someone's researching it, they'll be able to easily look it up. That is a valid standard.
No, but the standard of how much you need to look up is arbitrary, and you just came up with that.
Wait, hold on. It's not arbitrary.
Okay, what is objective about it?
You could easily apply a number of how many like Naruto sites that are easy to look up. You could easily figure that out. It wouldn't even be difficult. You just have to spend a few days researching it.
What's in question is how much you need to look up to be justified in making an inference, right? You need to prove
you would have to figure out whatever the number is for the data pool. You would have to data pool every website that you find and what they say about this specific character trope or whatever we're talking about, and then you would have to figure out basically what the evidence says, what the data points say.
Yeah. But what if I just employ a standard that, I think I'm justified if I have like a few sites?
It's finite, bro. Someone could look it up with enough time. Like it's that simple.
What if people don't have time?
What do you mean? We're talking about people that do have time, obviously. We're talking about people that are debating.
Wait. You can debate, right? And you could have some time. Doesn't mean you have all the time in the world. Nobody does.
We're talking about you, bro. It's not all the time in the world either. What proves it takes all the time in the world?
Well, the point is, you're talking about what could hypothetically be accessed. I'm just like, bro, if you spent your whole life, you could access a shit ton of, but nobody's going to spend their whole life. So your standard is really inconsistent.
Hold on. No, I'm not saying. Well, yeah, that's why I said it was almost humanly impossible. I didn't say it was easy, but that's the position you're taking. You're talking about a position which is nearly humanly impossible to actually do. Remember me saying that?
Noodles, you're lost. I'm the person talking about induction. You were talking about your standard for how to make an induction.
No, that was your argument initially. You were arguing that you could argue that these characters, based on a minority of evidence, should apply to the majority as well. Remember what I'm talking about?
That was what I was saying. But what we were just talking about was how you were saying that you have to go to majority of websites.
I didn't say a majority of websites. I said a majority of the evidence pool itself, but not even like a majority in that sense. A majority of easily accessible websites.
What does it mean? You have all these like ambiguous, unclear words in what you're saying, right?
Well, I incorporated all these into my premises. It's not my fault that you're struggling to keep up.
Well, it's not that I'm struggling to keep up.
I specified like a very small finite pool of information that you can easily access.
Yeah, but how much makes it justified?
If you read that pool of information.
No, how much? Give me the number.
You would need at least a majority of whatever that information pool is.
Now you're just hedging.
A majority of the finite pool?
You just said you did not need the majority.
Majority of evidence in general, not of this pool.
What do you mean majority? You just sound like you're saying the same thing. Like
I'm not saying the majority of all websites. You're like mischaracterizing my position. I'm not saying the majority of all websites. We'll take it back I'm saying I'm saying the majority of this specific finite pool of information.
What specific finite? On the internet?
Like internet of information that is easily accessible.
And what does it mean to be easily accessible? What are the qualifications?
You can casually look it up.
Can't you casually look up anything if you have the URL?
If you have the URL, it's not casual to type it in. I'm just talking about like if you search up Naruto.
So if you just like search up like 4 words, like it's sufficient. So if I search up Naruto,
1 word.
So if I search up Naruto and like Naruto Wikipedia comes up,
Oh,
and then I go to like the strongest character section, and it
You
says
could
like
read every-
Obito, it says Obito is
Yeah.
stronger than Itachi or Kakazu, right? Your man's, right? That's gonna be justified under what you're saying, because I
What's
I
gonna be
searched up a
justified?
basic word. The conclusion that
I'm not the one making a claim on that small of a minority of evidence, though. You
Yeah, but
are.
when
You're
you
the one
say
making a claim
small-
on that small of an evidence.
yeah,
fool.
but when you
You're
say
like
small,
you're
now
like
you're
upset
still,
at the same. You're like trying to criticize me for the same thing I criticized you earlier for. It's pretty
well,
funny.
for
You're like
one,
you're only
yeah,
judging
exactly,
a small pool
'cause
of
it's-
information.
Yeah, because it's self-defeating. Your argument needs to only apply to me if it's going to be a good argument. You can't
It's
have a
not
self-defeating.
self-defeating. That's not what you argue. You
Yes,
just
it's
shifted to that.
self-defeating. The fact is, if you're
It's not self-defeating.
if the arguments that you use for my position also applies to yours, that's self-defeating.
No, it doesn't. Hold on. First of all, I'm not saying it doesn't apply to me, but what I'm saying is that my position itself doesn't even contradict it. It doesn't go against it.
Neither does mine.
Yes, it does.
No,
Your
no, no,
position,
no.
your position
Induction-
itself is judging. So, is there anything wrong with looking at a small pool of evidence and then saying it affects the majority?
It depends on your standard of evidence, right?
You
And
know
that's
what a Texas sharpshooter fallacy is?
I haven't heard that in like a very long time, so no, not currently.
Okay, I'll show you. It's let me find.
Bro doesn't even know the fallacy. How you gonna call it fallacy? You don't even know.
Yeah, I have to look it up specifically because
What-
it applies. But I at least know about it, unlike you. Like,
Well,
didn't
okay,
even
you know the
that it was a
name.
fallacy.
Clap it up. Like you don't even know if it fucking applies. You just arbitrarily claim
It does
that it was a
apply. No,
Texas
I know it.
sharpshooter.
No, I know what it means. It's just easier if I look it up.
Okay, no, but if you know that I qualify as a Texas sharpshooter in this instance,
It's a fallacy which is committed when differences in
committed this
data are.
fallacy, then
Listen,
you should
listen.
be
You'll see
able
why it
to
applies. Hey,
articulate-
dumbass. Hey,
you should
fucktard.
be
Hey, bitch
able to
tits. Hey, pussy
articulate
boy. Hey, pussy
why
lips.
I
Hey,
fit the
pussy
standards
bitch.
of
Hey,
committing
bitch
this
tits. Hey,
fallacy.
fucker.
Now
Hey,
you can
hey, bitch
spurg,
ass.
you
Hey,
can
pussy.
spurg, you can
dickhole.
spurg
Hey,
all
listen
you
to me.
want.
Quit.
That's not
How
gonna
about
mean
quit
you're
over
winning
talking me,
the
then, pussy
argument.
boy? How about over talking me, pussy boy? How about that, bitch?
You sound like
anyway,
a little
you'll see.
kid,
You'll
like-
see why this applies once I fucking say it, bitch. Since you want to get on me
30-year-old man
for
on Discord,
apparently
bro.
not
Shut
knowing.
your ass up.
It's a fallacy which is committed when differences in data are ignored, but similarities are overemphasized. When this reasoning, a false conclusion is inferred. This fallacy is the philosophical or rhetorical application of multiple comparisons problem in statistics.
Yes.
Your whole argument is a multiple comparisons problem. How does that make you feel?
Okay, so let's ask you this. So, how does my argument qualify as a Texas sharpshooter fallacy? Because you don't just call the fallacy and read out the fallacy. You have to explain why my argument fits the qualifications. Right?
Okay,
So how
because
did I
you were
ignore
ignoring
evidence?
differences in data. You're only grabbing a small pool of data.
For my induction, there was no differences in data because all I had was my induction.
What do you mean? All you had was in your
Why-
induction.
why do you think- why do you
Your
think-
induction itself incorporated a small pool of data into it.
Noodles. What did I say?
You
about
said it
your
was
analogy
inductively
earlier?
valid for black people. If you saw 5 black people commit crimes, you said it was inductively valid.
right?
Valid
But you're
reasoning that
first
you
off-
could
first
assume
off,
that all
it just
black
means
people
that it's an
or most
induction.
black people are criminals.
You understand? You can make deductions about racist deductions too. Like this isn't an undercut.
So do you agree that deductions are more valid?
What do you mean deductions are more? Obviously, anyone who accepts deductions it's a more valid because it's more likely to guarantee the conclusion than an induction.
Okay.
But I accept both. I accept deduction and
at what
induction.
likelihood is it? So at what likelihood does an induction go from invalid to valid?
When there's
what point?
I already specified this. When there's counter evidence.
When there's counter evidence?
Yeah, so like let's say I make an induction about black people, like you said, and I see like 4 black people commit a crime, and then I try to draw a general conclusion that most black people, commit crimes based off the 4 people I seen. But then a statistic comes out that sees that the crime rate among black people are lower than other races.
I get the argument.
Okay.
I get the argument. You're arguing because there's counter evidence, and that means the deduction's invalid.
Yeah.
So so I'm going to ask you what the counter evidence is. That what was the original claim? Let's go back to the original claim now.
The original claim was that I made some claim based. Look, you took me down this rabbit hole, so you should like at least remember where we were at.
Nah, you definitely took it farther than I did, but okay.
Oh my gosh! Look, I was making some claim about like I experienced mangas to be be a certain way, and da 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 da. That's my experience. It's an anecdote.
What was
And
it?
then you were
What was the experience though? Because yeah, I get that this started from you trying to use anecdotal evidence, but
I don't fucking remember. Like we've been
Man, you
arguing.
told me this whole fucking debate, and
you
we
can't
don't
even
even
remember
know
the
what
whole.
we're talking about.
Dude,
You don't remember
you've been
either,
arguing
Noodles.
about.
Noodles, you don't even remember either. Like,
I'm high though.
okay, you just took me down a rabbit hole. I might as well be high.
Get over it, bitch.
Like
That's what do you think I've been arguing with you for this long? Like I'm literally high, just fucking around.
Yeah. You were definitely serious about these things. I'm not gonna cap, but
I'm just having fun. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm having fun too. Like that's why I was dogging you and shit. It was pretty funny, but
You haven't even got past this yet, though.
I mean, you granted the idea that the induction's fine because you moved back to the original.
I never said it was fine.
Wait, so you just pivoted to a new point? That's a concession.
I've gone back to an old point. That doesn't mean I concede. Concede means I agreed to something after first denying it. I never agreed to it at all.
Well, that's just
So how did I
employing.
concede?
That's just employing your own definition of a concession.
Which point did
right?
I move on from, by the way?
The point that the induction is going to be valid if it doesn't have counter evidence.
Yeah, I'm literally on that point right now.
No, you didn't. You moved back to the original claim.
I'm asking because it applies to this same thing. I was going to ask you what the counter evidence was for the original claim. Like what you think that there's no counter evidence, and if there was no counter evidence, I was just going to provide some to you. You were going to like name to me all your evidence, and I was going to name to you all my evidence.
So you took me,
that way I would just fucking debunk your induction to begin with.
I do want to clarify that you didn't even know what a deduction was. Like, even though you were trying to hold
Yeah, I
this,
did.
like, no, you didn't, because you said
I did.
A is a deduction. That's not a deduction.
I said you can make a deduction off of it. You just straw man me.
No, it's not. It's circular. Circular is you're not gonna. A circular argument isn't valid. Deductions are, right. So if you have the conclusion,
I never said that a circular argument was valid. What I said was that it's you can make a deduction about the law of identity.
You understand? A is circular, right?
Yeah, I know it's circular, but that's not what I said. You claimed I said it was circular.
Bro, do you want me to make a deduction on why what you're saying is wrong? If you grant the idea that A is circular, yet you say A is
why
A
are you
is
pivoting
deduction,
to this instead of talking about the original?
Why are you trying to run away from this? You know I was about to dunk on your ass.
Because I just explained to you what I was gonna do, and then you just moved on to this random tangent.
You didn't even know what a deduction is, so like how can I even?
Yeah, why'd you even bring that up? Why is it relevant to right now?
Because you're trying to presuppose a standard of deduction to try to.
Like, I never said anything about deduction. Where did you get that from?
Yes, it is. You said deduction is fine. Induction is trash. That's what you were arguing against the whole time.
Deduction is fine. Induction is trash. Yeah, I mean, I do think induction is invalid because I think it's arbitrary. At which point, an evidence pool becomes more likely. And you just said no counter evidence, but even if you don't have counter evidence, it's like that doesn't necessarily mean it's more likely. Your perception just could be flawed, which it easily is.
Well, that's a form of skepticism. That's radical skepticism that you can employ in the person making the deduction as well. So that's self-defeating as well.
I'm not talking about just radical skepticism. I'm not talking about just saying anything is flawed by perception. What I'm saying is, in this specific case, you may have just not have seen other things. You just may not have seen other occurrences of this data pool. You might not have seen a majority of the data pool. It could easily alter the outcome of your thing. So there's no way to prove that it's more likely to happen or not. Like you're just assuming that it's not. It's more probable.
Look, do you know what prima facie justification is?
No.
Yeah, so it's just going to mean that something's going to be justified absent of a defeater, right? So if I make an induction, right?
No, that's not the case. That's an
assumption. Hold on. So if I make an induction...
I don't agree to that standard of evidence.
Well, I don't care what you agree with. It's my epistemology.
Well, you kind of have to. It doesn't matter if it's your epistemology or not.
Bro, I don't have to prove reality exists to a solipsist, right?
I never said that.
Yes, you said I have to prove it to you. You'd be the solipsist.
I never said that. I never said you had to prove reality existed to me.
No, it was an analogy of like someone differing in my position. They're just saying, well, I don't agree with that standard of evidence. Well, I can be like, I don't care. Like, it's my standard. Like, under my standard, it's gonna work.
Hold on. We're talking about the standard of evidence for induction now. That's what I'm specifying. I'm saying like it's arbitrary at which point you say my induction is more likely than the opposite possibility. Like really in reality, all we're doing is measuring the likelihood of two possibilities, right?
Yeah, there's arbitrary. Inserting the fact that there's arbitrariness inside of induction isn't an undercutter. Induction grants that idea.
Okay, well, it is an undercutter. I don't agree with it.
No,
then.
okay. Well, you saying you don't agree isn't a defeater. I could just be like, I don't care.
It
that
doesn't
you
come
agree,
to
'cause I
valid.
agree.
It doesn't. It oftentimes doesn't come to valid conclusions.
No, did you know this? Did you know? By the way, that's not
That's
even
why there's
true.
so many racist
The reason why we know induction's reliable is because
why is that not true?
You understand science uses induction.
Why is that
right?
not true?
Science uses induction.
Why is that not true?
Science uses induction.
Science is very flawed, by the way. Like, I don't know why you're appealing
I
to
don't
science.
care. I don't care. Scientists is gonna.
You don't
tell
care
you,
about things being flawed.
Look, I don't care. I don't even know what your standard of flawness is.
Data
so
can assert that global warming wasn't a problem a few years ago. Scientific data can assert that smoking cigarettes cures certain illnesses or doing coke cures certain illnesses back in the day. But obviously science was wrong at the time. Medical science was fucking wrong.
Look, science grants the idea
they
that it could
assume
be
false
wrong.
things all the time. So I don't
Science
see the
grants
point
the
in
idea that
using
it
this
could be
kind of
wrong.
deduction.
Science grants the idea
So
that it could be wrong.
It could be, yeah, I agree.
That's
and it
what
doesn't prove that. What
falsification.
proves it's more likely? What proves it's more likely
That's what
too?
falsification in science works. When theories are
Okay,
falsified.